For all the English-speaking listeners, the next 2 minutes will be in Dutch and the rest will be in English.
Yes.
Ik ben Korneel en ik luisterde Beastie Boys.
Ik ben Remco en ik luisterde naar Teaspoon.
Ik droeg Converse All-Stars.
Ik droeg de wereld op mijn schouders.
En ik keek de film Kids.
En ik keek naar Jeske Vet.
Maar we zijn allebei kind van de jaren 90.
Vanaf Museumwerf Vreeswijk komen we om de week op vrijdag met een aflevering waarin we een icoon ontvangen uit die fantastische jaren 90. En Korneel, vandaag is een hele speciale dag, hè?
Voor mij wel, man. Dit nemen we op vanaf Museumwerf Vreeswijk.
Ja.
Maar ik stap straks toch echt even in de auto en ik rijd naar de Helling in
Ja.
Utrecht. Die hebben een ruimte beschikbaar gesteld, want ze moeten daar vanavond optreden. Ik mag van de mensen van de Helling, vooral Julia, die heeft me enorm daarbij geholpen. Mag ik die jongens daar gaan interviewen? En ik ga helden van mij ontmoeten, man.
Jij gaat helden ontvangen, hè?
Ja.
Als ik zeg no fronts,
No tricks.
no soapbox politics.
Ja, dan weten we over wie we het hebben, toch?
Ja, man.
Dog eat dog.
Doggy dog. Ja.
Ik ga JC, de zanger, John Connor, niet te verwarren met de John Connor uit Terminator. En Dave, de bassist, Dave Neabore, die gaan we...
Ja, goud, man. Ja, weet je, ik ken Doggy Dog natuurlijk van het verzamelalbum. Yabba Dabba Dance. En ik weet nog dat dat nummer erop stond. En het was een remix van het origineel, hè? Van No Fronts die op Yabba Dabba Dance stond.
Ja, de remix door Jam Master J.
Ja, precies. Die stond erop. En ik hoorde dat, man. Die crossover shit. Die gitaren erop. Die raps erbij.
Trok je het goed?
Ik trok het keihard, man.
Ja.
Ik trok het keihard. Dus ik vind het super jammer dat ik kan er niet bij zijn.
Nee, helaas. We hadden maar één kans.
Ja.
Kans en het is vandaag. En jij moet zo vertrekken. Gelukkig konden we dit intro nog even samen opnemen.
Ja, ik moet zo weg. Maar Korneel gaat dit rocken.
Ze zijn nu in Nederland.
Ja, ik wens je heel veel plezier, man. Want dit zijn helden van je.
Ja, zeker.
En ik weet 100% zeker dat je dit keihard gaat doen, man. Dus,
en ik moet het in het Engels doen, hè? Dat is
ja, je moet het
ding
Engels doen.
natuurlijk.
Dus dat wordt...
Even kijken hoe dat loopt.
Nee, maar ik heb er alle vertrouwen in, maat. Dus
Yes.
Veel plezier.
Hey, en daarna gaan we wel weer terugkomen om Legacy of Music op te nemen. Waar de mensen van Legacy of Music ons een nummer sturen waar wij weer lekker over mogen gaan babbelen.
Ja, en je gaat het nu zeggen.
Ik ga je het nu vertellen.
Ja, eindelijk, man.
Eindelijk.
Nee, hè?
Nee. Oh, nog even dit. Remco en ik maken deze podcast helemaal zelf. Er zit geen mediahuis of producent achter. Vanaf de productie tot aan de edit doen we alles zelf. Dus we vragen een kleine gunst aan jullie. Zou je je willen abonneren op deze podcast? En zou je wellicht een review achter willen laten als je het tof vindt? Of hem delen met je vrienden. Zodat we de community van kinderen van de jaren 90 zo groot mogelijk maken. Enorm bedankt. En check ook Nostalgia Events. Nostalgia-events.nl. Dan gaan we nu naar het gesprek. Terug naar die fantastische jaren 90. We're here with Dog Eat Dog, Dave and JC. I'm so thankful that you guys wanted to make some time for me.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. We make time for 90s kids.
Yeah. Those are our listeners. On forehand, I apologize for my English sometimes because I'm Dutch. This is my first podcast in English. So I try my best, but I think you understand me, right?
Absolutely. We understand you fine, and we're happy to break your English podcast cherry today.
Yeah,
right
thank
here.
you, man. Thank you. Hey, this is a podcast about the 90s. And I was 15 in 1994.
Okay.
And my parents said, when you're 15, you can go to concerts. And you can do whatever you want.
That was the magic number, huh?
And that was the magic number because Allboro Kings was there and you played. I don't know. I saw you a few times there.
Yeah.
It was always great. You were a party band.
Yes, sir. Allboro Kings just turned 30 years old.
30 years old
2
today.
days ago, when we were in Sittard. So
Yeah,
it's fitting that we celebrated the anniversary in Holland.
it fits, right?
Yeah,
Because, okay, but we're going to go to Holland.
of course.
But I want to start with how did the band start?
So the long story short is I was in a band called Mucky Pup touring. Yeah. John was there with the band as a kind of, I don't know, we call him roadie, but really just a friend helping out. And we started doing an intro to the show where John would come out and sing before Mucky Pup came, and the rest of us would play. And we would do like a cover song of Murphy's Law, or sometimes we would just do like a little medley. And it felt so good when John was in front singing that, like, when that tour ended, I just knew my time in Mucky Pup was going to end. I didn't feel like going on. I felt really strongly about starting something new, and John was right there, Sean was right there, and it was just kind of natural. We just said let's just start something new for fun. We weren't trying to one up Mucky Pup or try to be something any more than friends in a basement having fun and drinking beer and that's it. And because of that, it just attracted a lot of people who liked us and liked hanging out with us, and the band just started growing. So it was
why was Mucky Pup not suitable for you anymore? Because that band was all about fun, right? The lyrics.
Honestly,
I see your face. You don't want to go to there.
It was a fun band to the audience, but when being a member of that band at that time, I just wasn't used to being told what to do all the time. Like, I'm a person that likes to have people who have an equal say, and in this band, it was just basically one guy saying this is the way it's going to be.
All right,
and I after almost 3 years in the band, I became very frustrated with not having my own say in the band, my own voice. I didn't even get paid for all the time I was in that band. So it was time for me to do something that actually made me happy.
And what was it about John that you thought, this is our singer?
Well, we had been friends.
We're all pointing at you. Sorry.
We had been friends before Mucky Pup even, I was even in Mucky Pup. We just met because we grew up kind of similar place in New Jersey, and we would meet at this club and became friendly over skateboarding and thrash metal and all that. And he was singing in a different band at the time. So it was really just a matter of like circulating until we ended up doing something together.
We were lucky because in an adjacent town, Dave and I lived in different towns, but there was a town nearby that on Sunday evening and night, they would allow underage kids into this bar. Yeah. And mostly cover bands played there. So I had a band. I was 16 years old. I had a band. Dave also had a band. And, we crossed paths initially there. So Dave knew that I was already a singer, and I kind of retired from singing at like 18 years old because...
But what were you singing?
I was singing like Metallica and Anthrax and some SOD and Slayer. Like, this is 1986 or 1987. So the hottest shit... a lot of the bands at that time were still doing like Iron Maiden and, Black Sabbath, which is great. But, we were doing the most current thrash at the time. We were playing Beastie Boys, Fight for Your Right to Party. As soon as stuff came out, like, I was in a couple of cover bands at that time, but I jumped up into one of the bigger bands around in that circuit at the time. So, at that time, I got kind of disillusioned with being in a band because it was so much dedication. You know, you had to get together and practice, and the band that I sang with was no longer in my hometown anymore. It was 20 minutes or 30 minutes or more each way to drive. Yeah. And I was could only practice like once a week with school and work and everything. So for me, I fell in love with skateboarding, and Sean Kilkenny and I were fast friends, and we discovered skateboarding together. So with skating, you could do it anytime, any place. You could do it with friends, or you could go by yourself. There was no parameters on it. You could define it your own way. So like I said, I'd kind of quit trying to sing in bands. I was just into skating. Mucky Pup asked me to come on tour with them as like an extra hand. Yeah. And I did, and I had fun, and I loved jumping up with these guys and singing Murphy's Law songs or whatever we were doing. But when Dave and Sean asked me to be in Doggy Dog or start a band with them, my main thing was I wanted a band with no restrictions on style. I just didn't want to do hardcore or heavy metal or whatever. I was interested in rapping, and Dave already had introduced a lot of different styles to us, our friend group, like soundtrack stuff and weirder music, instrumental music. And when we were in Europe, when I was in Europe with Mucky Pup, our driver had a cassette of Urban Dance Sqaud, Mental Floss for
Dutch
the Globe.
Pride.
Yeah, well, it's true. I mean, and that tape blew our minds, because here was a band with a DJ, and they were playing blues and hard rock and hip hop and scratching in, BDP and all these things. And we didn't want to copy them, but they showed me and us that there was freedom, without boundaries and parameters. So
Yeah, but it's because you said we know him as a singer, but you were really singing, right? And now if I tell people who's JC from Doggy Dog, I say he's the rapper.
Right. Okay.
Right? You sing some parts, but...
Yeah. But I mean, maybe certainly on our first album, I was more screaming out of key. But as time developed, I mean, there's been a lot of singing on our last couple of records, but that's also growth. You don't expect to be the same band that you were 30 years ago if you're still lucky enough to be together. Yeah. So that kind of, brought me back into music when Dave and Sean, two of my, best buddies that I knew already could play, I said, let's go for this. It should be fun, and it was, still is.
How much time did it take before it took off?
Not that long, because my last tour with Mucky Pup was the March of '90. Yeah. And we consider our birthday April 1st. Yeah. So we started that day of throwing around ideas, and then, the band rehearsed in my basement, and we just kind of said, let's just start somewhere, just play. And it started coming together, and we made a first demo within a year after. Yep. Once we found a drummer we can, work with. And then we made a second demo the next year, and then basically we got signed to Roadrunner. So in less than 3 years, we had a record deal, and we were off and running.
And also in Europe, the record deal, right?
Kind of. Inadvertently, Billy from Biohazard, Billy Grazier, he took our demo tape and gave it to Hank Hacker, who was the boss of Roadrunner Germany.
Roadrunner Germany.
Yeah, so Hank... who's a Dutch guy in charge of the German side of the label. Funny, but he liked it and said, "Hey, this band is kind of cool." So they reached out to the New York Roadrunner office, and Howie Abrams came to one of our shows. And by then, we were talking about maybe the middle of 1993. We had gathered up a nice following. Yeah, we started playing shows almost immediately. As soon as we had, six songs, I think we started playing shows and just doing a couple covers. But Hank liked the
hardcore
demo.
way, right?
Yeah, just do DIY. Garages, ice cream parlors. We just wanted to play. Yeah. And so Hank heard it, sent Howie to the gig. Howie loved the show. He loved the energy. I mean, there was kids bouncing off the walls, and as I had mentioned, we had developed a nice following, because even though Dave and Sean and I were really best friends, great friends, we also, through work or different social circles, we also had separate groups of friends that somehow we could get together at shows. So I would bring people from work or from, the skateboard scene or whatever, and then they would meet up with some of Dave's friends, and then they started becoming friends just through the band.
So the mix of styles was not only in the music, but also...
That's right.
Socially.
And we would play gigs in New York as an unsigned demo band and draw 100 people. And it was obvious we were doing something right, because the people who were booking us were excited about it and kept booking us. So we started building up a following in New Jersey and New York fairly quickly. But it was more of an illusion. It was actually just us luring all these people with free beer or whatever. Just come on and support us. And they did. But back then, it was a different world. There was no internet. There was no nothing. It was you had to be there if you wanted to experience.
Your sense of community came through actual physical, interaction. You had to be somewhere to do it. And, also the scene, like the New York hardcore scene, had many phases up and down. It might have been like kind of a down period when we first started in 90. So, the scene was small. Bands supported each other. We also were lucky that Mucky Pup had given a leg up to Biohazard. So now Biohazard was putting us on shows as opener. And from there, we got to be friends with Life of Agony, who was still a demo band. And their manager at the time was like, hey, Doggy Dog and Life of Agony, this works great together. So we were doing shows together and things like that. So just a little bit of politicking, getting together and passing out flyers, going to other shows, got us a quick following. And we also had a unique sound and style. We brought a skate / snowboard. The beginnings of snowboarding was happening then. So we kind of brought that aesthetic as well as the Murphy's Law, Fishbone inspired like party atmosphere.
Yeah, and it's what you say. When I was 15, and it was in '94, I started my first band, and we were a cover band at first, and we played Who's the King, and No Fronts, but we had to draw some crowds. Yeah, if you want to make music, you go to TikTok and you make some music, you get some likes, right? But then you had to have the interaction, and you have to make friends and throw your friends together to make a crowd, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I often say. If we had formed 5 years later, everything could be different. It was totally the timing was perfect. So, you look back and, hey, it's great luck, great timing, but it's also great friends that together do something that it's more than one individual could do.
And you did something, I think, like you say, Biohazard, who became really big, and Life of Agony, of course. But they were or tough or really serious. You had Urban Dance Sqaud, who were really serious. It was fun music because there was this funk element and it was jumpy, but it still was really serious.
The text, yeah.
And then you had Mucky Pup, who was really not serious, and you were like in the middle. You were a party band,
right?
In between all those bands. And I knew, like, the first time I saw you, a friend of mine, I think it was a Snapcase shirt or something. And you guys were like, hey, nice shirt. And we were like, they're from the punk scene, and you fit in well or something everywhere.
Well, luckily for us, we grew up adjacent to New York City, and the music opportunities were incredible. You could, especially at that time, late 80s, early 90s, if you're 20 minutes from New York City and you got a little bit of money, you can see a different show every night. You can see Ministry on a Monday. It could be Tribe Called Quest on a Tuesday. On Wednesday, it's Muda Baruka, then you see the Toasters, and, and so on and so forth. So there was so much music going on, and in those times, you had to rely on friends for suggestions. Hey, check this out. This is MC 900 Foot Jesus. Dave was seriously a guy who had so much access and would buy records and just try things out, and he would just test it out on us. Like, first time I ever heard of Nirvana was Bleach from Dave, so we were waiting for Nevermind to come out. It didn't hit us like, oh God, who's this band? We knew. And we also knew it was like a massive step up from Bleach, what they were doing. So, we had, like Dave said, it was the right place, right time, right chemistry of people to, we had to be open-minded enough to accept these influences and maybe just grown up enough to be able to kind of digest it and put it out into the world as well. Like, we understood it in our own way, at least. Like,
were you confident? Like, we make this music and it sounds new. Were you confident?
Well, we tested it out. So we would, there was a lot of yes going on. It was a lot of guys just saying, yes, let's do this. It sounds good. Let's do it. There wasn't that second guessing because we were creating it on the fly. So if it felt good, we just went forward and went with it. And
the first song you wrote together?
I think Funnel King.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, there's actually it's on YouTube, a Mucky Pup from back when Dave and Sean were in the band and I was singing. There's a VHS that went up on YouTube, and they're playing a medley of music, and part of Funnel King is in it. So like the first Doggy Dog song is actually in a Mucky Pup show from 1989.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like we were up there feeling that already before, and we knew this feels good. We can do this. Let's just keep going. And Funnel King had that little bit part. I remember writing that little middle riff, and then Sean started writing the first and extended it. And then, like I said, when we got off that tour, we got together and we just went crazy. I think we had like 15 like ideas like in the first day, just, start somewhere. And
Dave
it was
and
fun.
Sean got a 12-pack and wrote 10 songs.
That's it.
And then, I come home from work and they're like, hey, here's a tape, start writing words, but back to your question though, were we confident? I didn't feel confident at the time as a 19-year-old. But looking back on it, like I did Hoya from Madball, and I did his podcast, and we were talking about it, and I said, you know what, like there was really nobody there to say no. We were lucky enough. We were suburban kids, so we had a basement to go and practice. We had somewhere to go. Anything that we could imagine, we felt like we could attempt at least. It's not like we had this braggadociousness where, we're going to take over the world and be MTV stars.
But that's a difference, right?
That's different.
Yeah.
But having the audacity just to try that or put saxophone into the music, it happened organically. But I remember, he did many great things for the band, but the first thing that Howie Abrams said as our new A&R man was, great energy, but I think you guys should lose the saxophone. It's a little cheesy. And it ended up being, our statement.
I can tell you, till this day, the first in Holland, it's like shitty weather all year, and then you have the first day of spring where it's like you don't have to wear a jacket and you can put your windows down in the car. The first thing, I put the CD in, and it's that's my good weather song.
Welcome to spring. Right?
Yeah, welcome to spring. Yeah, it's the sax. It's on Warrant. There were no saxophones, right?
Yeah,
and that's I learned to know you from Old Kings. And then I heard these guys also had Warrant.
Yeah.
So I went to the CD shop.
Right.
Warrant, Doggy Dog.
Yeah.
And this guy, come. And they gave me Doggy Dog from Warrant.
Oh, that's so funny. So that's one of the.
I didn't buy it because there were long-haired guys on the back.
Well,
that can be it.
That was one of like when we were about to come out with our first EP. Warrant dropped their Doggy Dog record, and it particularly made me unhappy. It made me unhappy because we felt without internet that we're the only dog eat dog in the world. Like, there's no way to check unless you went to a store and saw an album. Otherwise, there's no way to know. And it turned out there were other bands called Dog Eat Dog out there that once we got signed to Roadrunner, they kind of called in and said, hey, we're already a band. And basically, because we got signed and they weren't signed, we got to keep it. But I just want to say later, years later, I rejoined Mucky Pup.
Okay, yeah.
So I just want to say for the record that it's not like it was bad blood. It was for a while. It just wasn't the right place for me.
At the time, you didn't feel good.
But after Dog Eat Dog had become successful and we did everything we did, I felt like I missed Mucky Pup too, and they were getting back together and doing some more shows and asked me, and I did every U.S. show with them from 2000 till the end. So let's just say we all made peace again.
Yeah, ended well.
And ended well, definitely.
But then I think I got Old Kings on a tape from a friend. Like, that's what you did, right?
Sure.
I bought a CD and he bought a CD and you traded.
That's right.
And then I bought eventually the green. I heard you found it
Green
horrible,
Monster,
right?
yeah.
The Green Monster with Warrant and Old
That's what we call it, the Green Monster, Not because we hate the product, we just hate the packaging, when when you finally get signed and you start putting out your own product and you can control the way things look and everything. And then we had this record, Allboro Kings, that we loved the packaging. We had this incredible artist who
with a nice crown on the front. Yeah,
he designed the crown. He did all the little drawings on the inside. I mean, Todd James is a world-renowned street artist right now, but and then the record company, without our knowledge, made this record, and it started showing up at shows, and kids were asking us to sign this fucking green box or this green tape cassette, and we were like, oh, why didn't they just ask us? We could have done something.
I really loved it because in my
cooler.
CD shelf I found
the green
easy.
one. Yeah, I mean, hey.
It's easy to pick.
Yeah, and the amazing thing is I never actually even had a copy of that until recently. Finally, I got a green monster. No, to just complete my collection because, it's part of our history. But like John said, I mean, we weren't even asked to be like, what do you guys like this?
Do you
approve this? No, it's just they put it out. And it's not the worst thing in the world, but it shows you that you do lose a little control when you sign to a label.
Of course,
and we learned that. That was the first lesson right there.
Yeah. And then you got the label and then No Fronts. Did it explode? Or I remember the video.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it didn't explode.
No.
What happened was we started with Biohazard and Downset in '94 in the spring, and our record hadn't even come out yet, but people knew about the band a little bit from the history of Monkey Pup, and maybe some people knew about the EP.
Yeah.
But Biohazard was really shooting up. They got the Warner Brothers record out, and we get this fantastic slot right before them, 40 shows around Europe. And it started out, we shot the video for No Fronts, which was just us snowboarding, having a house party, and
that was a really smart
playing
move.
A gig. I mean, it was just authentic.
Yeah.
We are, unequivocally the first band to ever have snowboarding in a music video.
Because me and my friends were skateboarding.
Right.
And some were snowboarding in the winter. But you made it stylish or something, made it cool.
Yeah. Well, we just showed what we were doing.
Yeah.
And people gravitated towards that because it was authentic. And then you have this band with rapping and saxophones, and there's a bit of chaos going on, and it's kind of punk, it's hardcore. People didn't know what to make of it. So we had this unique thing. But back to the Biohazard tour, of course, they were getting a lot of attention. MTV and Viva and all these different media outlets were coming around, and through the process got turned on to Dog Eat Dog. And then we had a video that was ready for MTV or whoever came along, and we started getting plays on the specialty shows, Headbangers Ball and 120 Minutes and things like that. And that went well. No Fronts kept on getting bigger and bigger. And then these outlets said, hey, can we have another single and another video? And I think Roadrunner tried with Good Times. We actually made If These Are Good Times the second single, and it didn't work at radio or whatever. We never shot a video for it, and it was decided our last chance was going to be with Who's the King, and we made a Who's the King video, and that just propelled the band up. Finally we had something, even bigger visual, skateboarding in New York City and everything, and we had the right product for the right time. And punk was exploding, crossover was just beginning, but the Offspring were on top of the world. Green Day was out. I remember Bad Religion was so big, everybody loved Bad Religion. So we were in that mix, but we had a totally different look and a different sound than those bands. So that really helped grow until the point where that the fall, after doing the Biohazard tour in spring, by fall we were headlining our own tour, with a bus and everything in Europe. And then Roadrunner asked, hey, we want to remix No Fronts. They put us in the studio with Jam Master Jay. Yeah. We shot footage in Paris for the video. We shot footage at the Dynamo Open Air.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Yep. And that's really when it exploded. When the remix came out is really when it exploded. Then we were on MTV, not only on the specialty shows, but we were getting spins with Madonna and
But you also,
else.
I think, just before that, were in Beavis and Butt-head, right? Talking 90s.
Around the same time, but Beavis and Butt-head didn't
They
really...
didn't like it?
No, that didn't matter. The fact that they dissed us was funny. Just to show how ahead of the, let's say, cultural zeitgeist we were. Mike Judge, you know, he was calling it skiing. They didn't even know what snowboarding was. They couldn't even label it at the time.
But that was, in some ways, our big U.S. breakthrough, because we really had much more going on in Europe than we did in the US. But being on Beavis and Butt-head, actually, my phone started ringing off the hook when that thing aired, and people were like, I can't believe it. But that was pretty much it. There was we weren't even on the specialty shows in the US. It was Beavis and Butt-head was the only MTV we ever got in the US. But it lives on forever, and people have seen it, and we're super proud that, you know, we were included, whether we were dissed or not. It was pretty awesome.
When you saw it at first, when they said that they are hiding in the mountains because they're afraid of the real rappers.
Oh yeah, they're drinking 40s of hot chocolate, right? Bunch of butt munches.
I mean, I love that.
Yeah, me too.
Listen, in Beavis and Butt-head, it goes one of three ways. They slaughter you, they love it, or they ignore it and turn you off. So at least we got a slaughter. And we didn't get a turn off.
But you found it really funny from the start.
I mean, I was literally at a house party with a bunch of the old school friends in Vermont, day after New Year's. Everybody's lying around, totally hungover, half stoned still, and it just came on. You know, we knew it could come on, but Roadrunner didn't have like a date and time or anything. Said, hey, you're going to be on Beavis and Butt-head within this 6-week period or whatever. And we're all just sitting around and holy shit, we're on MTV in America. And I mean, the timeline's a little fuzzy now because it was 30 years ago, but also around that time was the European MTV Awards. And, you know, that was broadcast in the States.
Yeah.
So our friends, our family, our crew, our fans, people knew that we were quote unquote blowing up in Europe, but to win an award over Alanis Morissette and Weezer, and
then it's not just a big story, right?
This is like it's a holy shit moment, and even better for us was the MTV Awards happened to be on Thanksgiving Day in America. So everyone is sitting at home in front of their TVs, and all of our friends from high school and everything, you know, they're going out to the bars or hanging out afterwards, you know, oh, did you see Doggy Dog on MTV? Those guys won an award. It's crazy. So
how was the evening?
Incredible. I mean, just a whirlwind.
Surreal. I mean, we were literally hanging out with Bjork and Bono and supermodels, and we had no idea we were going to win. It wasn't, you know, set in advance. We were just hoping, but we didn't know. And then, you know, the camera kind of comes up right next to us, and like,
did you know who you were nominated with?
Yeah,
we knew. Morissette
it's Weezer, Portishead, Alanis Morissette, and H-Blocks from Germany.
And after we won, they took us into like the winner's room.
Oh, really?
And it was Bon Jovi was in there, Michael Hutchence was in there, the Cranberries, and it wasn't a room any bigger than this. And yet everyone in there was like, to us, like, oh my God, like we're literally like
shoulder to shoulder
hanging out, and yet there was no weirdness. Everybody was willing to talk to all of us and have a drink, smoke a cigar, and it turned out to just be like one of the most amazing moments. I consider Dynamo and the MTV Award as two of the top defining, you know, moments of this.
Did you feel
career.
like a superstar? Like you went in like a boy, you know, and out like a man?
I felt. It's still today hard to believe that it happened, and I can see the video, but it doesn't feel real. But it was so incredible in the moment. If I kind of wish I knew we were going to win in advance. Maybe I would have like worn something more appropriate, or like I don't know what. I just like wore whatever I was wearing anyway, and I just went to an MTV Award.
I mean, I'm best known for having a bowl cut at our biggest show ever. Talk about not reading the room right.
I told somebody I'm going to talk to you. He said, Was that the guy with the Dumb and Dumber
Dumb and
haircut?
Dumber hair, exactly. I didn't know Jim Carrey had a brother. Thank God the internet wasn't around then. I mean, it's around now, and people still talk about it. But you know, it's funny. You don't know. I mean, my main thing, and I think the band at the time, our main thing was that that award was fan voted. So the kids, the viewers of Europe took the time to call in and vote for us, and according to
and it was difficult. You really had to call in.
It
was not just an app,
right? Call on your parents' phone. A number in the United Kingdom, but I mean, MTV told us like, hey, not only did you guys win, but you smashed the competition.
Nice.
And for us, like, Alanis Morissette had the biggest record in the world that year. You know, Jagged Little Pill. And Weezer, great album. You know, I still dig all that stuff. Portishead, we covered a Portishead song in 2019. Just for fun, like we just wanted to do a song from the 90s because that tour had a 25 years All Borough Kings kind of thing. So we chose a few cover songs and we covered Wandering Stars. So like those were, and H-Blocks were friends of ours. So it was all like love, but like Alanis Morissette and Weezer, they didn't even turn up. No. They weren't at the awards. No. Yeah, I guess they knew they weren't winning, and we didn't know. Everybody knew, but you. H-Blocks were there, but the H-Blocks got to perform live at that show, so they got a win too. So in the end, they were like, "Hey, you guys deserve it," and we were like, "I wish we got a chance to perform." So everybody won in that case.
Yeah, if you hear something, if you're listening to this, there's a sound check going on because tonight you have to play here, right?
Yeah,
we're in the Helling in Utrecht.
Tonight's the last night of our run. It's not of our tour because the tour will continue down the road, but we just did 21 shows on the Free Radicals tour, and tonight we're wrapping it up, and we're gonna be flying home and take a little break soon.
Really nice, right?
Yeah, it's nice.
You said you were glad to go home.
I love it here, but you know, sometimes you just want your own bed after a while.
Yeah, of course, I can imagine.
That's the main thing. I just need like 3-4 days off, and I'll be ready to go again. But no, it's been a pleasure. You know, for us over the years, the band has become less and less of a full-time thing, and we do it for part of the year. But especially with COVID and not knowing if we were going to be able to finish our album, not knowing if we were ever even going to get on stage again. Of course, no one knew what the world was going to look like. So when we came back from that, we came back with an even greater sense of gratuity and being very happy and being, aware of the fact that this doesn't last forever that we are getting older and we still get to do something that we love and people pay for it and everything. So we really have a sense of great appreciation for every show and every tour. And I think it comes out on stage.
I hope I'm going to see it tonight. I want to go to Dynamo, but one thing about No Front still. I just learned like the No Soapbox Politics line is about Rage Against the Machine. Right?
Kind of. So Rage had come out around that time. So I was aware of that. And I was trying to write lyrics for Doggy Dog, and it wasn't easy for me at the beginning because I hadn't wrote a lot of songs. I was singing, but I wasn't a writer. I was covering. Yeah. So, it wasn't easy to write words, but I also was self-aware enough to be like, hey, like, these guys are so political and they have so much to say. Like, that's a hard place to be because you're always held up to these words. And even now, people are like, Rage Along with the Machine, Sony's band and all this stuff. And hey, I respect them. It's a hard place to be, but in the way, I mean, no fronts, the words define the band at the time. It was like, we are who we are. We might be rapping, but this isn't gun-toting hoods. We're just getting stoned and trying to have fun and not be preaching to you from the soapbox.
The fun thing is, for me, I always thought it was a political song. Like not the we're gonna smoke weed and we don't care, but the part no guns. It was like if you talk to an American, you have two types. Yeah, the ones with and the ones without, and that's
Sure.
a bit Republican Democrat.
It's a bit polarizing,
right?
but yeah, you're not off.
Yeah. So it was, and then I thought, oh, the no soapbox politics is also about the other part, but it wasn't.
No,
it wasn't.
not at all.
I was wrong.
No, it was. I mean, if you listen to the song, I have one verse, 2 other rappers are on it. It's just a bunch of words. There's no deep meaning to it other than, hey, this is what we're about. Which is
this
a
is
bunch
how
of
we
bullshit.
do it.
Yeah. Later on, we started developing a sense of the world. Like those earlier songs, like even though Dave and I had been to Europe with Mucky Pup and things like that, like we didn't know what to say. And maybe, we still don't, but we're doing our best.
But you can even look onto the next record when we did Play Games. The first song is Bulletproof, that was actually a real life situation. John and I were in, I think, Philly at the time. Atlanta. And we went into somebody's apartment and they pulled out their guns and were showing it to us. And I was saying to John, like, I mean, we don't know if these these guns are going to go off while we're sitting in the room. Like, we don't know who these people are. And that was like the bulletproof idea. So sometimes just living in a real life situation triggered an idea for a song.
This is just stupid, not politics. This is just a stupid situation.
That was more serious. Like that was to be taken seriously in that. So you could see even there we somehow developed a little bit more in talking about something that meant more. And John, on the Play Games, he really got very prolific writing, and so did I, because Dan Nastasi had left the band, and kind of the burden of the writing fell a little bit more on me without him, and it kind of, me and John almost partnered up like over and over on that record, and it was very satisfying. It was a lot of work, but it really pushed us both, I think.
For sure. It was forced growth. Not only did we have to write a record, but we had to follow up a hit record. Then, so
that's different, right? The first one you could.
Yeah, you have your whole life to write your first album. And for us, we even used songs from the EP to put on the first album. We still barely had enough after writing our whole life, or for 4 years anyway. But at the same time, here we are. We have to follow it up, but now we have the confidence that we are broken through on an international level. We've got an MTV-award in our back pocket. We got 100,000 people jumping at Dynamo Open Air. So we had a little bit more swagger, and we also had resources now. We could pay to collaborate with RZA from Wu-Tang.
Oh, man, I want to talk about that. But first, you said the 100,000 at Dynamo, because I have the DVD. I think I had it on VHS. And I saw it like so many times. It's iconic, right?
It's become.
It must
iconic.
be for you also.
Yeah.
Not become for you. That must be the greatest feeling in the world.
It was.
Yeah.
We had never played a festival even close to that before. So we were doing the club tours. Okay, we had a festival here and there, but nothing like the sea of people. So like, I'll never forget peeking out and looking and being like, oh my God, my stomach just got tied up in knots. And I was like, I don't know if I can do this. But once we got out there, it was like it all happened in like 5 seconds to me. It was just so fast and so incredible. And then we got off stage, and we were just like smiling and sweating, and like everybody just went crazy, and like
we were high for days just from that adrenaline.
Yeah, and
rush.
it was also like you said, like the guys from Biohazard told Roadrunner and pick up these guys. But there, I saw the guys from Madball. I saw Hoya standing. Freddie came along. Life of Agony. Everybody was standing there, right? Well, so it was also like, oh, these guys also like these guys. So I'm sure they're cool.
Well, that's one of the great things about Dynamo 95. It was a Roadrunner showcase. And at that time, all of these bands, even Bio had moved on, but they're still a Roadrunner family. There was a great sense of camaraderie between the bands. We knew Sepultura, we knew Typo, we knew Fear Factory, Madball, Life, LOA, the list goes on. Sepultura we become friendly with as well. So all of these acts, at that time, I feel like we were all happy for each other and supporting each other.
But that was the fun thing. Like Hoya, he was like, he's a sweet guy, I know.
Yeah.
But I think that was the first time I saw him smiling. In the back, like, you can do this. You can just make fun with the audience. it was so
Well,
great.
that was what we could do. That was the power Dog Eat Dog had. What was a lot of harder bands did what they did, but we were there to party and make people smile, and we could even get the hardest dudes to smile. So it worked.
And Madball and Biohazard, those aren't, giant water pistol bands.
No.
I mean? But we could pull it off.
Did you also call it a Super Soaker?
Super Soaker, yeah.
Yeah, that was big over here.
For sure,
had it.
yeah. And I used to rock that every night.
Yeah.
I'd have it. I got a water gun with me now, just for
can't
the
wait.
the Allboro Kings tie-in. It's just part of it. We want to kind of wink and share in on the joke and share on the nostalgia with people. If we were trying to be like, oh no, we're 30 years from that and we're different. We can't sing about this anymore. I mean, people would not take us seriously. They wouldn't come anymore. We just have to embrace who we were. I laugh about the bowl cut. There's so many things. We look back at our interviews. We're at Ping Pop and Dave and I just get off stage at Ping Pop and we're just happy to be here.
Yeah, it's so cool. We were kids. I mean, really.
But it was honest.
I think a really funny moment was when you went to the right of the stage and somebody got pushed off or something, and you went tough guy for 3 seconds and then went back. Don't push anybody off the stage.
Right.
Yeah.
We coming from the hardcore scene, you're so close to the fans, whether there's a barrier or no barrier. When security goes too hard, it's up to the band to stand up for the people. Sure. We're talking about teenagers too. We were in our early 20s. A lot of these kids, 15, 16 years old, they couldn't advocate for themselves, and I felt like it was my job as the lead singer to take care and to bridge also, hey kids, these security guys, they're a little overzealous. I'll tell them to chill. You leave them alone. They'll leave you alone. We're going to make this work. And, I had great role models. I'd been seeing Jimmy from Murphy's Law and Roger, Eddie Leeway, all these great frontmans in New York, HR from Bad Brains, So I had wonderful, kind of role models to look up to. I'd seen the Chili Peppers before they got huge, and Faith No More when Chuck was singing still. So I had all these great frontmen that I had been lucky enough to see, and those were, those are the type of things that they would do.
Did they have a surfboard?
No, but I did see that, a band opening up from Mighty Boss Tones. Dave and Sean and I were there at a concert in Rhode Island, and some local band. The lead singer was also the bass player, and I remember him taking off the bass, and it was either a surfboard or guitar case.
Before Dynamo.
So I've told this story before, but for no, it's okay. Yeah. For a Dutch podcast, it makes sense. So about 10 days or something before Dynamo, we had stopped into the Roadrunner offices in Hilversum. And Stefan Koster, who was the boss of Roadrunner NL, he was like, "Hey, this Dynamo show is gonna be pretty big. It could make your career and everything." I was like, "Come on, man! One show making our career." I was 24 years old.
You didn't know it was this big.
I didn't know it was that big.
Really?
I knew it was going to be big. I could see all the bands. I knew we had a good spot. But like Dave said, we hadn't played a big festival, so we didn't know. And he said, "Hey, do you have something special planned or something?" I said, "No, we're just going to do our show. Everybody likes our show." Have a super soaker. Yeah, I have a water gun, a big one. And he said, "Well, is there something you could imagine, or is there something we can help you with?" And I said, I thought about that guy who rode the crowd in that club in Rhode Island. Yeah. And I said, yeah, if you can get me a surfboard and take the skeg off the bottom so nobody
of course,
nobody gets hurt. Maybe I can crowd surf on that. He's like, okay, cool. And I have to finish this story. So we had played in Paris the night before, and we arrive on the tour bus, and I'm hungover and rubbing the sleep out of my eyes, and Roadrunner's there, and they're like, hey, we got your surfboard. And they showed up, and somebody from the office had spray painted a terrible crown and in orange on the bottom, and shittily wrote Doggy Dog. And I was like, I'm just thinking orange is Biohazard color. And, I didn't ask for that. I just wanted a surfboard. You guys kind of ruined it, I'm just grumpy and hungover. And sure enough, I decided to use the surfboard and create an iconic moment.
Moment, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, and then it all went off from there. In my head with my friends, everybody knew you about then.
Well, that's why I said it was definitely a defining moment because, it was before Dynamo and after Dynamo. And then the Dynamo rolled into the MTV-award. And so it was like we just had the absolute perfect spot on the Dynamo bill. Yeah. It was the perfect time of day. It was the perfect weather, everything. The light just shined right on us, and we did what we always did, but now everybody could see it.
Yeah.
Luckily for us, we had shot the No Fronts remix video in Paris the day before. So we literally had a 35 millimeter camera crew with us and a director like on the bus shooting Dynamo. It was just like Dave said, the timing's incredible. Like, people, you think maybe you can create a hit song or a hit moment, but in actuality, you really can't. There's so much luck and timing and synergy. So many things have to fall into place, and it goes so far beyond writing a song. Like, you're just better off write what comes out of you, say what you feel, produce a song in the way that you feel right. And if you're lucky, the universe will embrace it and spread it out to the world. But there's no way to create a hit or create a moment. A moment has to create itself.
Yeah. But that's a good bridge, because then you had to create, right?
Yeah.
Then you had to play games.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you had to do this again.
A ton of pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, like I told you before, a lot of that pressure I felt because I was really driven to write music, and I love doing it. And every day I just wake up and play something. And like the thing, like John said, we had all the time in the world to write the first record, but the second record, we needed to write and record this thing within under 6 months, at most. I mean, it came out so quick after we made the record. We had
festival dates and things that were already planned for 18 months ahead. And they said, hey, this timeline has to be obeyed.
Yeah.
And it has to be as good or maybe better.
Well, they hoped they wanted it. We didn't know what our sound was going to be. We just created the same way that we had always, which was the guys got into a room. And also, don't forget, we got a new drummer during this time as well. Brandon joined like a week before the MTV-award. He didn't do Dynamo, but he joined us right after that. And so we were also going in to work with a new guitar player, Mark de Backer from Belgium, and a new drummer.
Who played at Dynamo. Right?
He did, but the dynamic of the band had changed a little within the members. So like writing with a new team a little bit, that's why it was kind of like me and John had to like work with each other. I mean, Sean was always there and everything, but he was more just like, he'll throw his riff here and there, but he believed in us. So he wasn't trying to like get involved in every single song. He was also
a good mediator, like if I had an idea and maybe it was too poppy or rappy or something, and you were like, I don't know. And then Sean would be like, yes or no, he's kind of that voice. And, one of the things when we started the band, Dave and Sean and I, because they had come from Mucky Pup, which was like Chris's band. Chris was like a big brother to us. He took me to CBGB's for the first time. He did a lot for us, but that was his band, and he wanted to control it in his own way. And we decided that our band was going to be democratic, that, from everything from the name Dog Eat Dog to almost every decision that we made was based on, the input from at least the three of us up until the point where we had 5 or 6 members in the band. We still gave everybody their voice, and that's important too. So in that writing process, I feel like, Scott Mueller got involved. He was singing more backups. He was, there was a lot of saxophone on that record. In the end, after that record cycle, we decided we didn't need all that sax. We just wanted it where it's appropriate and not force it into anything. But just to cycle back, I also feel there was pressure to create that record, but Roadrunner was not like, give us a hit, or you should do this or that. They were definitely not like that. It was really, the creativity was up to us and on us. They gave us the resources, great producers with Bob Musso and the Butcher Brothers, and got the RZA on board. And, when I wrote the chorus, the hook for Games, when I wrote that hook, I was like, I remember like saying to Sudi, the sax player, was like, yeah, man, like, I just have Dio's voice in my head when I'm singing this part or whatever. And maybe I said that to Howie, or word got to Howie Abrams, our A&R man. He was like, would you like me to reach out to Dio? Maybe he'll sing it. I was like, of course we want you to reach out to Dio.
That's another MTV moment, right?
Yeah.
Dio? Oh,
and Dio showed up to the studio. And
was he?
Amazing.
Yeah. It was a dream come true. I mean, I'm a metalhead at heart, and to just be sitting there talking with Dio for an hour after we were done, and him just telling us stories about
He's
Black
the guy
Sabbath.
who invented the horns.
Yeah.
Right? He's the
Don't
man.
listen to Gene Simmons. It was Dio.
It was Dio. Come on.
But yeah, I mean, it was just an incredible experience. Now having like the ability to say, I'd like to work with this person. Yeah. Okay, I'd like to work with this person. We have enough money to do what we want. Yep. It was unusual, obviously, for us. We didn't have that experience before, but I think we utilized the money we were given and the opportunities we were given, and did the best job we could given the time frame and the pressure we were under, and delivered an album.
And you gave them some hits, right?
Yeah, we did. Isms and Rocky both turned out to be,
and Rocky, you were singing.
Video songs. Yeah.
That was kind of an accident too. I mean, I happened to write that song in like 5 minutes. It was one of those things people say, I wrote it. But it was true. I woke up that morning and the chords and the chorus were in my head. That day, John happened to be late or not able to make rehearsal, but we were working almost a few times a week on rehearsals, and we got there, and I just said, hey, here's the idea for the day, and I showed it to the band, and I sang it to them to show them like how it would go, and they all were like, hey, it sounds really good, a little more punk rock with you singing it. And when John showed up and we said, here's the idea, he actually said, I think you should sing it.
I can't even imagine you singing that song. No, not that you couldn't do it, but it's such a punk rock song. It's so different than the rest.
It works because Rocky is Dave's story, you know, and it should be his voice to tell it. And from jump, I was always like, yeah, I'll sing backups on this. No big deal.
And we certainly weren't thinking this was a hit or going to be a single or a video. I certainly didn't. I mean, it was just a funny, fun song. But I remember when we were on the promo tour, people who were hearing it kept saying, oh, Rocky. And I was like, really? You like that one? And they're like, yeah. I mean, it doesn't sound like Doggy Dog.
I expect
though,
everybody who, when I say Doggy Dog, they say No Fronts or Who's the King. But many people are saying Rocky.
For sure. Yeah.
It's amazing that it stood the test of time, and it's still considered one of our top 5, hits or whatever. So, I mean, hey, the good news is that he never had any kind of attitude towards it. He never said, no, it has to be me. You can't do it. He was just agreeable right away, and we moved on. Yeah. And I thought it was just going to be a bonus throwaway track on the record. But
even if you look at, like I said earlier, with No Fronts, I'm one of 3 voices rapping on that. So it wasn't a big deal to me. I mean, Doggy Dog, yes, I'm the front man of the band. That's evident, but everyone can have a voice.
All right, fun fact though, John actually hummed and wrote the sax part for No Fronts. That was he was saying, hey, how about a sax that goes da-da-da-da-da-da? It was him. So even as a vocalist, he created the sax line. Yeah.
When we had Strip Song was the first song that was sax on it. And, that part was written, and we were like, man, this is like real burlesque sounding. So it'd be cool if we had a sax. And one of the skate crew was like, I played a little sax in grammar school and high school. So we said, all right, come on by and we'll try it out. And we knew that it sounded good, but he just wasn't a great sax player, and he was only playing one part of one song.
That's the hard thing about sax, right? It's really good or
really
nothing.
Bad.
Yeah.
So he was hitting a lot of sour notes and everything when we brought him on stage, and Dan Sqaud and another friend of ours was like, hey, we know this guy Scott, and he can really play sax. Have him come by. So when he came by, next thing you know, Who's the King was written. And the intro and everything, we're like, okay, the sax, this belongs here. We're going to try and integrate it. And another story that's been told, but, since we're talking about the 90s and No Fronts and things like that, we had a show with the Beatnuts and Madball in New York City at the Limelight, the biggest, one of the biggest clubs at the time. So the Beatnuts had a great record out at the time, and Howie Abrams, our A&R man, said, hey, could you guys learn one of their songs, play it musically, and we'll have the Beatnuts come up on stage with you and rap to their raps, but with Doggy Dog backing them up. And the song was Psycho Dwarf, and it had this bass line going. Dave created a whole brand new bass line, but that was the feeling, that was the tempo. So we get to the day of the show, and Madballs plays first, and then the Beatnuts play, and we're on stage, and one of the Beatnuts got so drunk that he was throwing up in the bathroom, and he couldn't perform. So we never did the song, but we had this piece of music that became No Fronts.
Oh,
Yep.
so good, so good.
You can't plan this stuff. It's
That's
just
a great story.
Like our biggest song didn't even happen. Well, it wasn't supposed to happen. Yeah,
And it wouldn't become another song,
right.
maybe.
Yeah.
Hey, because I think it's almost time you have to do your stuff, but I really want to hear the RZA story. Because 90s Wu-Tang Clan, it's... How did that became?
I guess the short version of the story is we already had the success with Jam Master Jay with the remix. So moving into the Play Games album was great timing again, synergy. Our attorney, who was also Jam Master Jay's attorney, was also the attorney of RZA from Wu-Tang. So RZA had already completed 36 Chambers, and he was working on the new record, Wu-Tang Forever. And, you know, he was getting into a lot of different projects, and things were coming his way. And he said
he was working on Wu-Tang Forever.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but he said that basically to his lawyer, hey, like, I'd like to work with a rock act. Let's see what can happen. And Tim was like, here's Dynamo. You know, I'm going to show you the biggest rock act in Europe right now. And he showed him the clip, and he loved the energy and everything. And so they set up a meeting, and me and Howie went to the lawyer's office and met with RZA, and he said, cool.
That's so cool. It was his idea.
Kind of, yeah.
Like not Doggy Dog, but
not Doggy Dog, but he probably, he'd probably heard Rage Against the Machine or something. Was like, I like this energy.
Maybe Urban Dance Sqaud.
Yeah, and Tim was like, I've got your band right here.
Yeah,
and we met up, and he said, okay, cool. Let's do 2 songs. We're gonna do one with live instruments, and then one a hip hop version.
All right.
And the hip hop song never happened because he got too busy with Wu-Tang Forever.
Yeah.
But we were in the rehearsal studio.
Did you have a song already? Like
no. Not at all. We had nothing.
He had shown up later, so we had some time prior to him getting there where the band was in a room, and we talked about what do you want to do, how do you, kind of stuff. And we had already had like a basic skeleton of an idea.
I don't remember that.
We did. We did.
I don't remember. I thought RZA came in and was like, here's the beat.
Glad you both
here. That's how Jam Master Jay was working, where he actually was talking about changing the beat and stuff. But with the RZA, I remember we had already kind of had the basic idea. He came in and immediately went to work with you, and you guys were standing over there powwowing over lyrics still while the band was like working it out. It seemed to
your hands.
He definitely had that.
To my memory,
it
it definitely seemed like we had done a couple of hours of setting up and jamming, and then it kind of came together. So maybe we had half an idea, and then he kind of came in and directed us a little bit. But
he rode along.
He definitely rode along.
He just came and did his part and did
No. He was in the room the whole night.
He was very active. Hey, with each instrument, this is how it goes, and that whole you gotta sit back and listen to the sound of the horns. That was he had that kind of vision for it, to clap your hands, stomp your feet. Like he was whatever. He probably heard the James Brown song, "In the Jungle, Brother, clap your hands, stomp your feet."
Yeah. So
he probably heard that song, the night before or something. Who knows where his inspiration came? But yeah, he basically, had kind of a hook idea. He had some things, and then, like Dave said, him and I worked on lyrics together, worked on the hook together.
How was that to work with
Amazing.
RZA?
Yeah, it was overwhelming.
Was he big? Like when they told you can work with RZA, it was like, what?
Yeah, I mean, Wu-Tang was like an underground massive thing.
Yeah.
Like even in '94, when we went on the Biohazard tour in '94, everybody, you couldn't get Wu. Like everybody was doing the I'll fucking sue your asshole. Like everyone was kept doing the skits to each other every day. Wu-Tang, not like that we had whatever boom boxes and things, but that album was part of the consciousness for sure. So then getting able to get in the studio, I remember being like, when Biohazard and Onyx got together, I was like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
man. I'd love to
the
do
whole
something
Judgment Night.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
I was like, I'd love to do something like that. And then all of a sudden, like, RZA? Okay. Like, you know, maybe, Method Man or something like would have been a bigger name. RZA was more like the producer. But for me, I understood, you know, what it meant. I mean, Roadrunner, even after the song was done, like, they really didn't see the significance of RZA. We had a video ready to go. Like, the director was there, RZA had the date pulled and everything, and literally like 24, 36 hours before the video was gonna happen, the budget got shut down by Roadrunner.
But even without knowing RZA, it's a really good song, right?
I guess so. That's up to the listener. You know?
Okay, I'm the listener. It's a really good song.
It was cool. We had great remixes of that song too. So we really had, you know, you talk about timing, right? We had our ducks in order. That would have been perfect because it was right before Wu-Tang Forever was coming out, which was going to be the #1 record in the fucking world. And we would have jumped right in front of that with the RZA and a video. And because Roadrunner couldn't see the vision and they figured we'd already spent enough money on this record, it was the end of the year tour cycle. They said, no, we won't put out another single. Go make another record. And of course we were brokenhearted because we all knew by then what was going to happen. Wu-Tang Forever was going to come out and be the biggest record, and we just missed the boat.
Hey, but was he a nice guy?
Yeah. RZA was great. Like, I met him probably a half a dozen times in my life, including so always nice. Remembered me 2 years later when I was doing this skate shoes and clothing stuff. I was out in Las Vegas for a trade show, and Wu-Tang was playing there, and you know, I went up and like he knew me right away and was like, yo, what up, and everything. And like, so it was very cool. Like, the whole thing, we were treated well. Like, because we were gonna do this rap song together, me and Howie went to the 36 Chambers studio in Staten Island to meet with RZA because he gave me a tape of this beat that he wanted to maybe work with, and it was during the Ghostface Killer Iron Man sessions. So Ghost was working on his album, and you know, me and Howie are sitting in the green room, and you know, all these people are like popping in and out, and they're probably wondering like, the hell are these two white boys doing in here? But no, everybody
they belong in the mountains.
Yeah, exactly. They're not hiding from the real rappers now. No, Ghostface was my favorite Wu-Tang MC, so that was just special getting to meet him.
Great.
And then RZA, of course, was like probably 2-3 hours late, whatever. But he came in, he gave me the tape, and sadly, we never got to collaborate on that song, but the tape is still around somewhere. And Dave, tell the Woo Dog story.
And then while we were creating our music and he was getting comfortable on the mic, they hit record in the control room, and there's like a 30-minute freestyle Woo Dog, which is basically us playing like blues music and RZA just rapping over and over.
Stream of consciousness.
And it's one of the most amazing things no one's ever heard, really. He said it's on YouTube. I checked everywhere. It's not there. So I have to imagine it's got copyright problems if we just one day put that out. But it's a pretty special, it's actually hysterically funny.
Oh, yeah.
But you still have it, right?
Yeah. Okay. I got it.
And RZA, it's, you know, RZA's using rhymes that eventually, like, I laugh because I've heard on Bobby Digital and even Wu-Tang Forever, he uses some of those lines on later records. So they're probably just raps that he had in his head, or maybe stuff that he had written down and was getting ready to use. But like, I'm sitting in there like closer than you and I are together now, you know, shoulder to shoulder with RZA in the booth, and he's just rapping. And like, you know, nowadays I go 30 minutes myself, but at the time I was just like, you know, my jaw's on the floor, basically. I'm standing with, and RZA's not even the best rapper by far in Wu-Tang, but still, it was just such a moment. I was definitely, for lack of a better word, just shook. You know, I was just, oh my God. Like, I rap a little bit on it, but it's him, like, for maybe not 30 minutes, but he just goes on and on and on.
It's close. And then our very rare US MTV covered it. So it actually made MTV News. Kurt Loder at the time did a 2-minute piece on Dog Eat Dog and the RZA getting together. So, we had very few breakthroughs in the US, but hey, that one actually broke through to mainstream MTV as well.
That's great, man. Hey, guys, you have to do your thing.
No worries, man.
I really, really, really want to thank you, because when I was 15, I was at a show. I think it was Vast in the eastern of Holland. And I know I was this little kid with long hair, and I asked you, Dave, you were walking in. I said, can you play No Fronts? Not knowing it was the thing you always played. And you said, yeah, maybe. And then when you played, you started a song somewhere in the middle of the set. I think you did do, and you pointed at me, and then and that was such a great moment. So I love it. You're here. I love it. You're
Thank
here.
you for that. Because
Memory lane.
I love that, and I hear that every day when we tour. Like when I was a teenager, how important this was, and
first album, first
whatever
show,
it was.
yeah.
It's like we're still seeing those people 30 years later, still affected
now they're bringing
by
their
that.
kids
Yeah,
as well, or brother. Hey, my big brother got me into Dog Eat Dog. He's here at the show with me. So
And that's why we're making the podcast. Like I was 10 to 20 in the 90s, so everything that happened really happened, you know. And those songs, I can hear them every day. I can still sing along to everything. And
well, what makes the 90s so special, it was really just the end of an era. We got into computers, we got into phones,
Internet,
we got into new ways of communicating. It doesn't make it any better or worse, but that was the last moment, the last time where you had to go and pass out flyers and making cassettes even for your friends, mixtapes and burning CDs and everything. So, there was an innocence to it. There was a different way of connecting, and that was the last.
You had to connect.
That was the last hurrah for it. Then we started learning new ways to connect through the internet and email and
were people nicer?
And now our devices. I don't know if they were nicer. No, I can't say that. But the communication to me seemed more authentic because it wasn't as easy. Now I can, somebody follow me on Instagram, and they can. It's beautiful. The immediacy that I can talk to somebody in Thailand or Indonesia or something who's a fan of Dog Eat Dog, or somebody who was at the show last night can send us pictures and videos, or write a personal note. Oh, I loved it. Thanks for being so nice, or whatever it is. So, there's pros and cons to it, but you did have to do the work. You couldn't just sit in your house to make connections and to enjoy moments. You literally had to move from your couch or from your off your butt. You had to go out and shake hands and high five, and there was no phones up at the show. People just live that moment, and you're talking about being a 15-year-old kid,
remembering it forever.
and that one wink or that one point, and how much that means to you. And when you've got to work for it, I think those moments are more cherished than just pressing a heart button on a screen. Doesn't make it any less significant for people who weren't born before then. But being someone that understands it and lived it, I cherish those times. I know why people think the 90s were so special, and it's because it was the end of an era, I think.
thank you, man.
Thank you.
En nu is het tijd voor Legacy of Music.
Het item waarin we elke aflevering een 90s track bespreken die ons is opgestuurd door de mensen van Legacy of Music.
Check legacyofmusic.com en hun socials.
Zombie van de Cranberries.
Zombie van de Cranberries. En als ik dit nummer hoor, je voelt in alles pijn.
Ja, de pijn. Ja,
Pijn.
It's the same old theme since 1916.
Ja.
En 1916 was dat noemen ze de paasopstand van de Ierse Republikeinse opstand, noemen ze dat wel. Dus daar is, dat wordt als een van de momenten waarin het gevecht tussen Noord-Ierland en Ierland, of daar in Ierland in ieder geval, dat daar gevochten werd onderling. De katholieken tegen de protestanten.
Ja.
Dus ja, het gaat over een burgeroorlog, mogen we het wel noemen, denk ik.
Ja, letterlijk nog de bomaanslag van de IRA, waarin ruim 50 gewonden waren. En waar ook 2 kindjes zijn overleden.
Ja.
Ja, de jongen van 12 had je en de jongen van 3. En dat heeft zoveel gedaan bij hun. Ja, dat ze een lied over geschreven hebben. Je voelt het gewoon, maar in de muziek.
Ja,
in haar
another
stem.
head hangs slowly, child is slowly taken.
Ja.
Het gaat letterlijk daarover.
Letterlijk.
Ja.
Hoe ze haar stem gebruikt, de tekst, de muziek, alles is pijn, man.
Het is een nummer wat op het begin... Ik heb dit... het stond in de top 40 en weet je het jaartal? Dan weet ik hoe oud het precies was.
Ik denk 1994,
94,
denk ik.
Ik was 14, denk ik, nog.
Ja.
En ik weet dat ik met Sinterklaas deden wij surprises met het hele gezin.
Ja, ik ook, man.
En mijn ouders die kochten ook nog cadeaus voor iedereen.
Ja.
Sinterklaas bedoel ik. Kocht natuurlijk cadeaus voor iedereen. En we mochten allemaal een verlanglijstje maken en ik had een gitaar op mijn verlanglijst gezet. En een van mijn broertjes, ik weet niet meer wie van de twee, dat is een tweeling, die had mij getrokken met de loodjes. En ik kreeg dus, en we mochten voor 15 gulden of zo.
Ja.
Mochten we een cadeautje voor elkaar kopen. En toen had de een speelgoedgitaar voor mij gekocht.
Nou ja.
En ik sta nog op een foto lachend van haha met een speelgitaar. En ik weet nog dat ik daarna toch echt wel heel boos werd dat die 15 gulden, wat gewoon heel veel geld was voor een jonge iemand, dat daar een speelgoedgitaartje van was gekocht. Ja. En toen hebben mijn ouders, hoe ze het hebben gedaan, want ik schaam me een beetje dat ik zo boos werd, want dat was best een goede grap. Die zeiden van, nou weet je, deze kunnen we inruilen en dan kun jij voor die 15 gulden. En toen heb ik daar het singeltje van de Cranberries voor gekocht.
Oh, ja, nice.
Dus ik had altijd toch een haat-liefde-verhouding mee, omdat ik eigenlijk me ook wel schaamde dat ik me zo had laten kennen, want het was gewoon een hele goede grap.
Maar je was een kind, man.
Maar ik wilde ook echt wel een echte gitaar, in plaats van een speelgoedgitaar.
Nou ja, en op die single heb je gitaren gekregen. Ik weet nog dat, kom weer op mijn moeder uit, maar mijn moeder was fan, man, van de Cranberries. Dus het album No Need to Argue, die stond bij ons veelvuldig op. Ode to My Family. Ja, die kan ik dromen.
Ja, ik heb het echt een haat-liefde verhouding trouwens. Want ik vond
maar
het begin toen die
met Zombie of met Ode to My Family?
Zombie. Ja. Begin vond ik het tof toen die top 40 in kwam. Ja. Daarna vond ik het ineens irritant, want de manier van zingen en alles. En ik ben nu juist later, kan ik het juist waarderen. En ook omdat ik beter naar de tekst ben gaan luisteren. Ja. En kan ik het nu weer goed hebben.
Ja, maar vroeger, man, ik dacht, ik hoorde een liedje over een zombie. Toen was ik me nog helemaal niet bewust van wat ze zeiden. Of
ik wist wel
toen hoorde ik alleen maar muziek.
Ging. Maar ik was natuurlijk net,
ik was 10, man.
Ouder,
ik was 10.
Ja.
Dan hoor je alleen maar de top 40 en...
Ja, dus ik snap wel, want ik heb nog wel ook meegemaakt de angst voor de IRA bijvoorbeeld. Dat in Nederland ook nog wel echt dat op een gegeven moment in Maastricht een aanslag was. En,
was daar niet laatst een serie op Netflix? Hoe heet die serie van Netflix?
Ik weet het niet.
Was er een serie over in ieder geval.
Ga op Netflix zoeken, mensen.
Ja.
Maar goed, dit nummer, het is de pijn voel. Als je het weet wat het over gaat, dan voel je het in elke zin. Ja.
Ik heb nog wel een leuke voor jou, man.
Oh.
Een leuk weetje. Kan je die clip nog voor je halen?
Ja.
Daar zijn beelden van gebruikt van Samuel Bayer.
Oké.
En hij maakte ook de video van Smells Like Teen Spirit van Nirvana.
Oh, echt? Goeie clip, man.
Ja, goed.
Is het echt waar?
Is echt waar. Vent? Ja, dat is echt waar.
Oh, wat goed.
Ja.
Leuk weetje.
Leuk weetje, toch?
Ja, heel leuk weetje.
Ja, precies. Ik denk dat voor jou wel leuk om te horen. Wat wel triest is natuurlijk het overlijden van de zangeres.
Ja.
Dolores.
Ja.
In 2018.
Ja, niet heel lang geleden.
Nee. onder invloed van alcohol verdronken in bad. Dat is wel bizar, want ze zouden de dag erop zou ze een nieuwe versie van Zombie gaan inzingen.
Oh, echt?
Ja, die wilden ze opnieuw gaan uitbrengen.
Jezus.
2 weetjes, man.
Ja, maar
achter elkaar.
Je moet wel de volgende keer opbouwen dat je eerst dat we met een leuk weetje uitgaan.
Ja, dit is nee, maar dat hoeft niet. We kunnen de Cranberries ook superveel. We hebben mooie herinneringen aan, man.
Ja, nee, zeker met terugwerkende kracht kan ik het toch echt wel waarderen, ja.
Ja.
En ergens is het ook wel weer hoopvol dat het in Ierland niet helemaal, maar toch best wel gekeerd is met van hoe het toen was. Hè? Dat ook dingen toch uiteindelijk misschien toch goed kunnen komen.
Nou, laten we hiermee eindigen, man.
Ja, toch?
Ja.
Vind je Doggy hiervan?
Doggy Dog? Doggy Dog vindt het hard.
Ja, toch? Open-minded, voor alle stijlen staan ze open. Sowieso. Lekker, man. I know now what the world really needs. We need to get positive, need to be free. And hey, we're getting old, but no, we ain't tired. We know what is happening, and hey man, we try. The news hits like Rocky, and I hate to say, reality sucks, let it please go away. What we need is no fronts, what we need is no fear. Man, a world without guns, Isms don't want them here. Let the saxophone play, and let there be sun, 'cause those are the good times, let's just sing along. And not to ignore what is happening today, but this show life can be so much fun. Hear me say, hatred just sucks and we need to unite. Stop the pushing away, get together, invite all of them, and we'll smile and we'll laugh and we'll sing. 'Cause man, we all are equal, except for Doggy Dog. They're the king.